evening, boils and ghouls. It is me, your old pal, the Collector. And for tonight's treacherous tale of torment, I've traversed the tiles in my temples of terror to tide you over with another visit to Tales from the Crypt, Volume 3. And tonight's little ditty first appeared in the original comic series in issue 23, published in 1951. So, without further delay, let's get into Voodoo Death. Shall we begin? Come on, Bill. You know this is wrong. Dead wrong, Jay whispered as he trailed Bill Randall through the steamy, overgrown Haitian jungle. Smack in the middle of this sweltering island was the last place Jay wanted to be. He had been slimed, bitten, and crawled upon by just about every eight-legged creature in the jungle, and the nearest road was more than an hour away. Don't tell me what's right or wrong, snapped Bill. Dressed in a khaki shirt and pants, a wide-brimmed hat, and hiking boots, Bill looked every inch the archaeologist. Although his father had been a world-famous historian and scientist, Bill had inherited little of his father's thirst for understanding ancient cultures. What he wanted was fame and fortune. So far, both had eluded him, but he would stop at nothing until he had both in his grasp. You just keep an eye out for the stray natives, Bill growled. They're known to kill outsiders who try to interfere with their pagan rituals. Don't be such a wimp. You know what your problem is? You don't have any heart. These people are entitled to live their lives without any interference from us, said Jay. All this talk about stealing a sacred voodoo doll gives me the creeps. Your father's probably turning over in his grave. Bill waved his hand to silence Jay. They crept up a hill, parted a tangle of thick branches, and peered down into a clearing. Far below, a ring of natives danced around a dead body lying on the ground. It lay inside a circle of dead lizards and vulture bones, and was covered with strange-looking leaves and flowers. The sound of drums thundering through the hot, thick air terrified Jay. What are you doing? He stammered. He's the native who was shot to death in town yesterday, said Bill. They're working over him. A high priestess wearing a turban and a long dress made of animal skins approached the body. The drums beat louder and the dancing became wilder. She knelt down, bowed in front of the corpse, and began speaking to it. Part of an ancient voodoo ritual, Bill explained. When she was finished, she placed a tiny voodoo doll alongside the body. A long razor-sharp pin held the ragged doll together. Suddenly, the chanting stopped. A deadly stillness fell over the clearing. The high priestess stood above the corpse as the rest of the natives moved away, staring intently as their spiritual leader waved her hands and chanted softly. Then, to Jay's utter horror, the corpse began to shake. Its eyes flashed open, glassy and empty. Then it lifted itself off the ground and stood, staring blankly into the night. The high priestess raised her arms to the sky, and suddenly the tiny voodoo doll rose up alongside the zombie-like corpse. Before Bill or Jay could blink, the doll darted past the circle of natives and into the darkness of the jungle. Did you see that? Jay cried, his eyes wide with fright. The dead man, he's alive! Shut up, you fool, hissed Bill. They'll hear you. But it was too late. The natives had heard Jay's voice. They quickly turned and pointed at the intruders, gesturing and shouting wildly. The high priestess barked an angry command, and in an instant, the natives were racing right for them. Run, Bill screamed. Jay turned. The natives were at the edge of the clearing and gaining fast. He pumped his legs furiously, but went nowhere. To his horror, the loose dirt gave out from under him, and before he knew it, he was lying flat on his face. In the next instant, he was surrounded. He kicked and struggled with every ounce of strength he had, but it was no use. His arms and legs were pinned to his sides. Bill, come back, Jay screamed. They've got me, Bill! Don't leave me, help! Bill heard Jay's awful cries as he scrambled through the darkness and the vines. But he did not turn back. Glaring down at Jay with anger in their eyes, the natives waited for their leader to tell them what to do next. Jay smiled meekly at his captors, hoping a little friendliness would go a long way. It didn't. The High Priestess roared an angry command, and he was carried away. Back at the hotel, Bill packed furiously. A steamship was scheduled to leave Port-au-Prince early that morning, and he was determined to be on it. The tiny hotel room was hot, and the ceiling fan provided little relief from the heat. That fool, Bill mumbled, mopping sweat from his brow. It was his own fault. In the jungle, it's every man for himself. Besides, he was a worthless. Leaving so soon, Bill? Bill turned. To his horror, Jay stood before him. He looked dazed. Jay? Bill exclaimed. Thank God you escaped. I was just going to get the police and go back and find you, and Jay collapsed on the bed, holding his head. Voodoo doll, he muttered wearily. His words were slurred and flat. Voodoo. Zombie. What are you talking about? Asked Bill. Heart. Voodoo doll. Jay rambled. Bill shook his head. That's just what I need. Some kind of loony partner, he grumbled. Look, we'll both get on the next boat out of here. Get a good night's sleep. From the steamer's bow, the mysterious island of Haiti became just a tiny speck on the horizon. As Bill and Jay watched, they were happy to be sailing for New York and relieved that their terrible ordeal was behind them. After dinner, Bill said goodnight to Jay and headed for bed. Entering his cabin, he threw his jacket on a chair and flipped on the bedside light. What the? He said, shuddering. A tiny voodoo doll, exactly like the one from the jungle ceremony, sat slumped against his pillow. A huge, ugly needle clasped in front of its body. Suddenly, it bent forward and rose to its feet. Bill stumbled back in horror. The natives must have sent a doll after me, he realized. It must be a punishment for witnessing their sacred ritual. They're trying to kill me. Bill moved quickly. He scooped up the evil-looking doll, pulled open the porthole of his cabin, and hurled the doll into the night. Bill, what's happening in here? Jay said, standing in the doorway. The voodoo doll, Jay, Bill cried. The natives are angry because I saw their ritual. They're trying to kill me. You've been in the sun too long, old buddy, Jay said. You're seeing things. Bill's hands shook as he lit a cigarette. I don't know, he said. It looked at me like I was a human pin cushion. Maybe now you're the one who needs some sleep, said Jay. Everything will be all right once we get back to New York. And everything did seem to be all right, until about 2 weeks later. Then, late one night, Bill heard a tapping at the door. Jay had gone out for the evening and Bill was alone in the apartment they shared. He opened the door, but no one was there. Just a package, wrapped in brown paper. No return address, no postmark. He hastily unwrapped the package, lifted the lid, and he dropped the box on the floor and stumbled back in horror. The voodoo doll was stuffed inside. It seemed to be taunting him with a devilish grin. Thought you were rid of me, eh? He could almost hear it sneering. The long needle it held was razor-sharp and gleamed wickedly in the light. Panic-stricken, Bill tossed the box and the grotesque contents into the fireplace. As the box curled up in flames, Bill went into his study to pour himself a drink. Suddenly, a frightening thought occurred to him. If that thing could come back after being thrown into the ocean, couldn't it escape the fire somehow? He ran back to the fireplace. The box had been reduced to ashes, but the doll was gone. Where are you? Bill screamed, turning every which way, hoping to see the doll before it was upon him. I know you're in here. Come out and fight like a doll. Bill, what's going on? Jay demanded as he burst through the door. He had heard Bill's ranting and raving from down the hall. Have you gone completely nuts? It's back, Jay. It's here in this room, hiding, waiting to kill me. Let me guess, Bill, Jay said calmly. A little dude, 6 inches tall, carrying a long, menacing-looking needle. Something that could go right through your heart? That's him, Bill cried. Have you seen it, Jay? Can't say that I have, Bill. Why are you so calm about this? Bill said, glaring at Jay. You think it's just after me? He'll kill you too. I've already paid the price for our little adventure, Jay said. You were dead right when you said they didn't like outsiders witnessing their sacred voodoo rituals. I'm telling you, Bill, they don't just get mad. They get even. What are you talking about? Jay glanced at the ceiling. Hey, Bill, what's that in the chandelier? Bill craned his head. A scream tried to escape his throat as the voodoo doll leaped from the chandelier and dropped onto his shoulder, the long needle plunging painfully into his neck. Get it off me! Ah! He screamed as the needle sunk in deeper. In an instant, the voodoo doll slumped over. Bill pulled it off his shoulder and threw it to the floor. The doll lay there limp and lifeless. Bill giggled with nervous relief. It jabbed me and then croaked. Went to that big dollhouse in the sky. Before he could finish, his neck began to go numb. In seconds, his whole body ached with a terrible pain. I'm getting weaker. These little guys get right to the point, don't they? Jay said with a sinister snicker. The needle was poisoned. Soon your whole body will hurt, Bill. And then you'll be dead. As dead as I am. Dead as... That's right. I'm dead, Jay said, his eyes shining with an evil glow. After you ran off and left me in that jungle, the natives taught me a lesson in good manners. They sent me and the doll back to punish you. You're about to die, Bill, old boy. Bill's anger suddenly rose. The little monster was about to take his life, just as he was on the verge of greatness. He grabbed the doll and viciously ripped it in half. Something tumbled out of the cloth that held the figure together. He picked it up. It was dripping. Good Lord, it's a heart, he shrieked in disgust. A human heart. That's right, Bill, Jay said, ripping open his shirt and exposing a huge scar stitched crudely across his chest. They gave it my heart. Bill and Jay slumped down on the floor. Bill moaned and shivered in pain as the poison coursed through his veins. It wouldn't be long before both of them had paid the price for going where they didn't belong. Well, there you go. Bill's search for fame and fortune sure did leave Jay feeling a little heartless, didn't it? You can't blame Bill, though. He had to take a stab at it. But that voodoo doll, what a pain in the neck. Well, that's all we have time for tonight, kiddies. Thanks for joining me on this Friday Night Fable Fright. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and ring the little bell icon so you can be notified when it's time for our next little Fable Fright from your ghost host with the most. And be sure to follow me on Instagram at Old Pal Collector for more creeps and shrieks and to get a little snippet of each Friday Night Fable Fright a day early. And until we meet again, thanks for watching, and good night out there, whatever you are.